Hello and welcome to Filling in the Gaps. I'm Justin.
I'm Darren.
Today we're going to discuss a puzzle game that has many puzzles, one of which is the map.
Yeah, one of which is the opening menu.
This is one we have had on our list to play.
From the very beginning.
Yeah, kind of before we even were going to do the podcast. I think that we had both purchased it and we were definitely interested in playing it, but we didn't get around to it. You started it at one point.
I started it and then I was like, this would be perfect for what we're doing. But my idea was, let's do it live.
Yes. So for years we
just put it on the back burner.
Yeah, we delayed under the delusion that we were ever going to get to that point. I think the beginning of the game would work for that, but I think, and we're going to talk about this, but I'm going to say right away, Antichamber at the beginning is a beautiful, wonderful exploration, something that is very interesting. But for me, the second half lags quite a bit. And I don't want to say that I would still recommend the game, is what I want to say. I would still recommend it, but I would say that there's a point that for me, I was ready to just be done, and the game wasn't done yet. Whereas I think you loved it all the way through. You were pushing through to try and do some of the extras. There are many extras that you can find, and this is probably my biggest complaint is I was ready to be done, and yet the game wasn't. It had all these extras, but you don't really know what's an extra and what isn't.
That is an issue, and that's definitely one of my disappointments is like, oh, I found something new. Oh, it's nothing.
It's usually not nothing. There are a lot of kind of Easter eggs and things that show you how the game works.
A couple of dev rooms. Well, not a couple, there's a lot of them.
And I do think that that is great, but I think that for me, it would have been nice if there was some sort of delineation other than just on the map. Apparently, the map has a key, but the map also doesn't have a key, and the fact that it doesn't actually tell you what the symbols mean, you also have to puzzle that together.
Yeah, which I did, I think. It'll be interesting to see what your theories are on what that map means, because it's probably very different from mine. But
it's been a few weeks since I played, so I'm not sure how well I remember all the symbols. But it is a game full of puzzles. It is in many ways, a sandbox. Would you say a sandbox exploration?
Sure.
Because you can do things and it is one of the beautiful things about the game, though also frustrating, is that many puzzles can be solved in at least two ways.
Yeah. I mean, I would probably even say it's a bit of a roguelike game in a sense where you can pick up things. I mean, it is essentially, I mean, even the developer, Alexander Bruce, he's like an Australian indie dev who did this. This is the only game he's ever done as well. But even in his own words, his favorite games were Metroid and Chrono Trigger. And he wanted to make Antichamber like a roguelike in that you could power up and then using what you'd gained, you could go back through rooms that you'd been in before to unlock new secrets.
Well, he definitely did that.
Yeah. So
mission accomplished.
Yeah, for sure. But it's weird though, because the rooms that we found, like the snake room and things like that, Antichamber actually started out as an arena-based shooter game, and somehow it became this, which is kind of bizarre. The game really stressed him out.
Well, I can imagine. It's quite an endeavor, and it works very well. Like, there are some things that don't, and we're going to get into that. Yeah. But overall, it's an impressive, unique experience, and for that, I think it's well worth it. It's $20, I think, at base, which is a great indie price. We've said that many times.
Yep.
It does go on sale as well, so I think that the price is right, especially for the amount of time I put in. How much time did you end up putting in?
I think I've got about 20 hours now, something like that. Almost.
Yeah, so you're right on par with what you would want. I am less.
I think you're about 18 or 17.
Probably. But again, this is one of those games where a lot of that time is not actual game time, but me running around trying to remember where I was supposed to be, or stuck on something that I shouldn't be stuck on, or doing something, as we're going to get into, the most complicated way when there's clearly a much easier way to do things.
Well, yeah. I know we definitely solved a bunch of puzzles differently. Because you were saying rooms that I'd never even heard of yet. And you're like, yeah, but you have to be there to get the yellow gun. No, I've never even seen this room, and I've already got the red gun.
Yeah, because there's more than one way into different
Which
rooms.
Is great.
Yeah. All right, now, I'm going to cut us off there because we're already starting to get into kind of
some spoilery
territory. Yeah. Very positive on the recent reviews and overwhelmingly positive on the overalls. There's a reason for that. The look of the game is great. It does work very well for most things. There are a few mechanics that I would love to see done better if he makes another puzzle game of a similar style. But overall, I would recommend it. I would say if you haven't played Antichamber, go out and play it.
Yeah, and that's what I said for my review on Steam, because I'm kind of the opposite of what you just said. I took a look at this game and I thought, yeah, it's bananas, but I did not like the look of it at all. And it put me off because for some stupid reason, I was like, Talos Principle, very polished. Puzzles are also very, very polished. None of them felt like they were buggy or anything like that, and I trusted them. And like we've always talked about is, especially for me, if I can't trust your logic, it really puts me off your puzzle game. And things like The Witness, beautiful to look at. Puzzles, we disagree, but I would say they're pretty solid as well. But when I opened Portal, it's Portal plus Stanley Parable, I guess. When I opened Antichamber, I was like, yeah, it looks bananas and it's got some crazy, weird, trippy graphics. But I was like, graphics aren't good. I don't think the puzzles will be good. I don't know why I thought this.
I'm not even sure why you thought the graphics were so bad. They're good. It's just a simplistic design.
It's weird, yeah. I don't know, man.
Design.
I think I'd played this off the back of playing Portal 2 again with you, like maybe the co-op one. Finishing The Witness. Finishing The Witness. Finishing The Witness in the first
Listeners,
way.
he's still not completely
I've still not finished it. I got to get that one more achievement. And there's only 2 achievements to get. I just didn't trust it. And it was too crazy. Because Antichamber is an anti-game in a sense that most games start easy and get more difficult. But Antichamber starts very hard and gets easier.
I disagree, but...
Nah. Well, yeah, I knew you would. But, I mean... Up to a point, but it gets the more parts that you find and the more that you begin to understand the world, it definitely gets easier. You cannot deny that the learning curve is very steep in the beginning, and then once you get a handle on what's going on and you get access to your guns and stuff, things become much easier. They did for me. By the end of the game, I was flying through it.
I would disagree. We can't get into that really until we get into the spoiler section, but I would disagree because...
But even you said that because you're like, man, you're flying now. Because I was like solving room after room.
You were flying. I was the opposite. I flew in the beginning. All of the crazy stuff that happens in the beginning, I seemed to be ready for.
Yeah.
It was some of the logic puzzles that you need to do later. The way that the mechanics worked weren't as intuitive. And that... Yeah, I think that's why we had a very different experience.
Yeah, probably.
Hopefully, listeners, you're going to go out, you're going to play Antichamber, and you're going to love it from beginning to end, unlike us where we both liked a different half, I think.
Yeah.
But with that, it is time to take us into the spoiler section, so this is your warning. Spoilers ahead. So, Antichamber. It's another one that's going to be a bit tricky to talk about because it's not linear. So there's no way to go through.
Yeah, you can't say it's like, oh, this part was good, and then the next part, because I think we probably went... Well,
we definitely went different... We definitely went in different orders because I got the yellow gun a totally different way than what you got it from.
Too many lasers. That's what you kept on saying. Too many lasers. I'm like, what? I don't even know what too many lasers is.
You'd not seen it. I had been stuck on too many lasers for hours and days and kept coming back to it because it was one that was easy to find on the map and I kept getting back to it. And if I had gotten through that one and through the next one, then I would have gotten the yellow gun.
Well, let's talk about the map then, because that's the first thing that you see. Well,
it's one of the first things you see.
It's the first blank that you don't see the map because there's no map because you've not started yet. But as you progress and unlock rooms, you get this map.
Well, let's talk about this room because you're already annoyed with this room. What was it about the beginning room that really irritated you?
I couldn't quit. And so I had to Alt-Tab, delete out into Task Manager to stop the program because I couldn't read English.
Yes, there's a whole page, like a whole wall of description of everything to do, and it says to hold down, escape for 3 seconds.
No game that I know I've ever played, escape is to exit, not hold down escape. He's f***ing with us. Oh, sorry. Yeah, you can't say that. But, he's messing with us. That's just, I hit escape, escape. Escape. No, it's like, escape. Bling. Okay, now I'm out. That was a puzzle in itself, just to exit the bloody game.
That's for you. I read the instructions.
I never read the instructions, yeah. So that's probably...
But I love this room. I love the fact that there is the wall of kind of daily affirmations that we acquire as we find new areas.
The motivational posters, yeah.
The wall of explanation how to play the game and how simple the instructions are, really. And they do carry through most of the game. And the map, which is frustrating. We're going to get to that next. But also the glass wall with the exit sign.
Right.
And you can see it, but you can't get to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is a beautiful way to start to tease you with that. And then to doubly tease you, because even once you get here, you're only about a third to a half to a three-quarters of the way through every time that you find this room again. So I do like that. I think that works very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
But the map is a bit frustrating. I'm glad the map exists.
Yeah.
Like, I would be really lost.
Could you imagine if you were
it.
like, if you had to, oh, crap, where was that room? And then you just had to go through everything again.
I mean, I did sometimes, because even the map.
I mean, sometimes you have to solve the puzzles, because you have to pick up cubes from one room and take them into that room.
Right. And sometimes the room you want isn't on the map. It's not absolutely every room.
Right.
It's just a lot of starting points where you could go to.
Yeah. But that map is insane because, okay, so basically, this is my interpretation of it. A large cube means that you have not solved the room.
I'm going to take I'm going to trust you on that one. I never realized that there were different sizes.
Right. So there's a big cube. And then once, as far as I can tell, once you solve or like find every secret that room has to have.
It's very possible that I didn't solve any room, all of their things. So I probably had a ton of huge.
Just all the same size cube. Yeah, you must have. But they get to be small cubes that are the same size as the lines of the corridors. So the cubes are larger than the corridors between them if they're unsolved. Once they are solved, they become small.
Right.
Then you've got these little alcove cul-de-sacs, I guess, which are just dead ends.
Those are like dev rooms.
I found most of these are dev rooms, yeah. Did you notice as well that the cubes will go darker on a run? So, and there'll be lines along the corridors, and basically
it gives you an idea
of where you've been. Yeah.
It shows. I think there's like an X for where you started, and then it shows you kind of the progress you made, which is, I'm very happy with that system, because that does at least give me a hint of, oh yeah, there was that thing I couldn't do at the beginning, and I need to go back there, or where did I go? Because I don't want to go to any of those rooms again. I've already done those rooms 12 times.
Right.
Where do I need to go that's new?
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, these lines don't even seem to link to each room anyway, which is weird. So if you start off in a room in the southeast corner, then...
There is the problem of the arrows, because the arrows will lead you to a different floor, or if you have a sort of portal door that takes you from one area to another, that's what the arrows show you. But it's very difficult. You almost have to keep notes for yourself of where this arrow will take you.
Yeah. I mean, it does, when you hover over it does tell you where it goes to. So I guess, I don't really know why the arrows exist. They seem a bit pointless to me.
Well, but if they tell you where it goes to, then that would be helpful.
I guess. Because, I mean, there are times, I mean, when you were saying the too many lasers, you have to mouse over every single room for them to pop up to tell you. Because when you mouse over them, they do pop up with a picture of like the main part of that room and then the name of the room, which is great. But the names aren't actually on the physical map. So you can't just go, oh, too many lasers, there it is over there. You got to mouse over every individual room.
Yeah, you basically have
to
search through the map to find it.
So by the end of the game, I was pretty clued in on not what each room was called, but it was like, we had our own nicknames for them, like the room, or the fly room, or the walk room, or the...
Well, those, they literally have the word
they have
in front
that on
of you,
it,
so that one makes sense.
But like that, and then the don't look down room, or, but they're definitely not called that on this map. But yeah, the map in itself was hard enough.
Well, we talk about the beginning of the game, I think would be a good place to start. Mm-hmm. Because when you first start, it is kind of bonkers. You don't know what you're doing. You have no idea. You are taken from this room into another room, and you just have to start following the tunnel. There is the red door and the blue door, and it makes you think of the Matrix, but it's not really, because it's going to take you a totally different direction. No matter how many times you take the blue or you take the red, you always end up in the exact same place. Only by turning around and going backwards into the now green corridor, which wasn't there before, do you end up in a whole new area. This will eventually take you around. You should go around these corner and corner and corner in a way that can't actually exist. And this is part of why I like this introduction. What appears to be, or what map you would expect to be in a real world, that is not what you're getting here. And he makes it very clear right from the beginning, this is the kind of game you're in. And I think that's why I was so ready for it.
Physics doesn't matter anymore.
As soon as I turned around, and there it was, and you lead into a room that basically just says escape on the wall, and you turn around and it's now another wall that says escape. You know, well, okay, that's what I have to do.
Yeah.
You get into, after that, another area where you can get dropped down into, and a tunnel that you have to find your way through, which later in that tunnel, there's a secret door that you could just kind of push your way through, and there are a bunch of circles that you need to walk away from. There are a lot of things that he did as a developer, which were very good as far as teaching us these steps and these hints. There were some things that I don't know how you'd ever figure it out. There was one wall where I just pushed my way through, but I hadn't been taught that yet. I don't know why I thought, I've got to go through this one. But I did, and I was rewarded because there was something on the other side.
Is that the ones where the wall just kind of glitches out and then you can pass through it? Yeah.
It was this white wall. I think there was something in the poster that hinted that you could push your way through an obstacle. I went, okay, I'm going to get through that one. There were lots of those kind of things that I think worked very, very well in this game.
Yeah.
Now, one of them was that walking away from circles, because you told me later that that's actually very important for finding some secret rooms.
Yeah.
The first time, though, I think that I saw that, I actually had to walk towards the circles. So maybe I did one of those tunnels backwards, and thus always made me think I had to try and go towards the circles. But then there are other times where I had to go away from circles. So
no, they lead you. I know the one you're talking about. It's like kind of dark tunnel. And then, yeah, those circles are a little bit lit up. And so on your first playthrough, before you know the rule or before you stumble upon the rule, I thought they were like little beacons of light and I was following them. Actually, if you go to the end of that tunnel, or if you start walking backwards through that tunnel and always just keep the circle in front of you and walking away from it, it'll take you into another room. So I think, yeah, they served two purposes there. One was like on your first playthrough, follow me, but actually you're supposed to be walking away from them, never breaking eye contact with them, which is weird because they've got that other eye, that weird like Illuminati eye kind of thing.
You have to stand in front of it and wait for it to open.
Yeah, or close. Yeah, it's open. Yeah, it closes down. Yeah. Or no, it blinks. I don't know, whatever it is. It's there.
It blinks and the floor will disappear below you, or
the
a
wall
door will
disappear.
open up, something. Yeah.
And then there's those doors that are shy. If you look at them, they'll close. And it's just, what? Yeah. But that's the thing. There was a lot of things in here, and you had to solve those. There's zero tutorial for this game.
Yes, but I think the thing for me was these opening bits. That was great, and that's what I wanted. And it felt like the game was coming up with so many of its just own mechanics and ideas and stuff that felt original. When we started actually getting to cubes and placing cubes, now there were some things about it. There were some things about it that were original, but I did start to feel like, oh, I'm working with cubes again. I want to go back to the part where everything is new and everything is wild. And so I think that's why, for me, once I hit the guns, particularly the yellow gun, they were still interesting, but it wasn't quite the same as what I had before. And I kind of missed that just wow factor of walking through the tunnel and then walking backwards and a door magically opens, right. Or, turning around and the color is different and you go to a totally different room, or the mechanic where you are looking through a window and if you walk close enough, you're looking at a different room, and when you back up, you're now in that room.
Yeah.
Those things are fantastic, and that, for me, is what I love about this game. Once we got into the cube stuff, less interesting.
The cube stuff just, it becomes more of your standard kind of puzzle game at that point. But still, I mean, there was a lot of baffling points to the cube as well. Like, there was some really weird stuff that you had to do.
Well, and that's part of my problem, I think, is I never got so stumped in this game as I did on the cube puzzles.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
The other stuff, the totally, this makes no logical sense stuff, I was flying through. And as soon as he started using logic again, I was like, well, now I don't know what I'm doing. And I can't
you
do
fooled me into this illogical stuff, and now you're throwing logic at me? How dare you?
I do want to just get it out there now. Two of the mechanics with cubes that I do not like. One is, it was very frustrating because of camera angles. And the angle that you're looking at can make it sometimes difficult to build cubes where you actually want them to go.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So that was a problem. And that also became a problem when you're moving cubes around. Because there was a part I was stuck on way too long. I still don't know how you did it.
Go on then.
The up section. So
you
have the yellow words up.
Yeah.
And you just did something where you clicked on it and you moved it up to the ceiling.
Yeah.
But how did you do that? Because every time I did that, it left me behind.
No. Okay, so
I can do it with one cube.
That's all you need.
But how did you get only one cube out of it? It's two big letters, U and P.
But they're made of single cubes. And so you remove one of the cubes and they grow back, yeah?
Yeah.
So then you go into a blank space and you fire the cube onto that blank space. Then you stand on that cube, hold the middle mouse button or whatever you did for the controller, and then hook it up to the ceiling, and then...
No, I know that. I was able to, after you told me that, I was able to do it. I was able to make it work. But I couldn't do it in that room because I never had one cube. So whenever I did it,
it was like a big snake.
It just threw me off and would take off to the ceiling.
Right. Yeah.
So I just assumed I couldn't do it. The other problem being with the camera angle, as I'm standing on it, I'm not sure if I'm actually standing on it.
Mm.
I don't know how many times, even though I knew what I was doing, I wasn't sure if I was actually on here. So platform jumping, like everything about the looking angle for doing some of these puzzles, whether it be, am I actually on the cube? Oh, I'm trying to move the snake around so this is what I did, listeners, is I just created one giant yellow snake and I just created sort of stairs all along the side, all the way up. And
it's a long way up.
It's a long way up. Oh yeah. I spent an hour trying to make this work the first time because I would fall at the end because you're in a slightly bigger box and then there's a ledge and that's a pain to work around with the snaking method I was trying to do.
Right.
And then you get right to the top and guess what? Another ledge. And so I fell off. Now I did towards the end because I did it so many times.
Yeah.
I could do it fairly quickly. And I found kind of, okay, well, if I angle it from here to a wall and a half, like that'll give me a good stairway and I can do that. And so I probably could sort of speedrun it as well as possible, but it was so easy to fall off. And yeah, because
I remember we were on chat and I was like, yeah, okay, I'm at the up part. And then, all right, I'm at the top. You're like, what? How did you get up there so quickly?
Yeah.
Just the elevator, man. The yellow elevator.
I couldn't make that work.
The yellow-vator.
The other big problem with the cubes is the interesting mechanic of making them grow.
Well, let's talk about the guns first then, right?
Well, okay. Well, here's the thing. Let me get it out of the way. You can take one out of the middle and the whole thing disappears.
Sometimes.
That's my problem. Yeah. I had set up some beautiful things where it's like, well, if it would just all disappear, then it would work fine. But then that time only 5 would disappear.
Yeah.
Then other times where I'm like, I only want 5 to disappear, the whole thing will disappear. And I never understood why it was so inconsistent.
I never really worked that out either. It was you that told me about if you draw a line from one side to the other.
Because you were stuck in that. And I get it because I don't know what made me realize it. But there's a part, so you've got your yellow gun, where you get the yellow gun, and there's the yellow kind of plus symbols in front of you. And to get through, you can absorb them, one at a time. And if you absorb them from the middle, then they all disappear and you don't end up with enough cubes. So then you end up in this endless loop of going back through until you get it right. And you start from the very edge of one of the shapes and take them one by one.
Yeah.
And then you have enough.
Yeah. That was annoying.
Whereas it was my third loop, so it didn't take me that long. But yeah, that's probably about the only thing. It was like my
sixth loop by that point, man. I just kept on going through like a madman, just making the same mistakes exactly over and over and over.
It's probably about the only thing I did faster than you was that one.
Man, that really stumped me. So yeah, so the cubes, right? So not the cubes, the guns, right? So you start off with the blue gun.
Yes.
And the blue gun.
Well, you don't start out; you get it.
Well, you get it. It's your first gun, and they're not really guns. They're portal guns, I guess. They don't really damage anything, but so you can collect cubes, and that first puzzle is basically telling you conserve everything, because you get to the end on my run, I got to the end to get to the yellow gun, and I didn't have enough. I had enough cubes to open one door, which led you into a room that had the press escape to go back to the menu because you can't make it from here, and so but the other door has 4 cubes, and I was like, but I only have 2. Oh, okay, I've got to work out a way to... Then you work out how to...
Oh, that's interesting, because the one that I
think you went in through the other way. I think
probably.
We both came in from different directions.
The reason I realized that was when I had the gun, and yeah, I mean, maybe we need a better term for it than gun, but yeah, once I had the cube displacement machine, basically
the antimatter gun. There you go.
There was this puzzle with doors, and so I could go through the doors, and it even has a diagram on the wall to show you could put a cube here and stop the door from coming down.
Yeah, that little tutorial part, yeah.
So I can get all the way through that, but then to get to the next part, I need more cubes. I don't have enough, so I have to go back and keep opening the doors.
Jamming them,
taking them from underneath from the other side. So I can't go back through again, but I can.
Yeah, you're locking yourself in the room as you go along. But as you do that and progress, you're collecting more cubes.
And so I pop out on the other side, and there's an area that needs 3 cubes. And so again, there's this 3-door puzzle where 2 go up as 1 comes down. And I'd solved it, but there were 2 different ways to go from here.
Yeah,
and I went, oh, what's this over here? And I went a totally different way. And so when I came back to this room and I didn't have enough cubes, now I've got to start in a different area to go all the way through the door puzzles again to make sure that I have enough. Now I didn't. I could have waited until the future when we got a much better tool.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that, right? And even once I had the tool, I didn't really understand, like the yellow gun, I didn't properly understand. Because you were the one who told me about growing cubes. I had seen this in a special wall mount where I could build a square in the wall mount, and then I could pull them out. And I was like, okay, so that's what it's for. Special places I can do this. But it's not. You can do it anywhere.
Yeah.
You can grow them anywhere, so long as you can make a full square.
With a hole in it, yeah.
Or any shape, as long as it's kind of enclosed.
Yeah, yeah. And then you've got so that's the green gun that does that. That makes the...
That is true. That's the green gun.
So the yellow gun's power is you can slide them along. That's what you can do.
That's right.
The middle
yellow
mouse
is
button.
moving. Yeah.
You can slide them through things, which was weird because, and this was a real headshot when that happened. Was that?
Wait, was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Then maybe I'm thinking of the.
You're thinking of the green gun. The green gun is the one where you can make the cubes and then it fills the middle one. I'm pretty sure. Because there's the 4 guns. There's the blue, green, yellow, and red.
Yes.
And the black, I guess, if you want to class that as one. But yeah, the yellow one, that's the one that you can make like the snakes that go through the air. Because I was always moving them. You slide them around inside those things to trigger the switches and to open the doors. It's just almost like a slide square puzzle, which I hate, but I can handle this one. But then you're like, can I pull them out on the Z axis as well? Just instead of just going X and Y, could I draw them out of this? And you have to do that to open that door that's just covered in yellow cubes.
Yeah, see that I missed out on.
That
for
was
a while.
Such a great feeling when you're like, I wonder if this will work, and it does. And it's like, yeah, that's such a good hit of whatever endorphins these puzzle games give you. But the rules for clearing those walls, I'm still not sure on. And there was also one weird one where they just flash and they seem to regrow and disappear and regrow and disappear, and they almost become like iridescent, and they just like...
I don't know the one you're talking about there.
It happens a few times to me, but maybe it was just a glitch.
I will say there is an amazing trick. If only I just figured out so much sooner. If you draw a straight line all the way through, then a section of the wall will disappear for long enough for you to walk through. What we were doing at first, though, was just moving the camera around like madmen and just trying to leap through, which does work.
It does work, yeah.
But not very consistently, and it takes a long time, and it's very frustrating. Whereas getting that straight line, this is easy to walk through.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why that pigeon coop, the one that's like...
Okay, he's going to call these electric pigeons?
Well, they are, because they make pigeon sounds.
I guess. They're these colored spheres that bounce around.
Or whatever, yeah.
Yes. And there's one where they're inside of a white room.
Yes.
And if you run up on it, as they always do, they get more activated. And so they start smashing away, but they never smash completely away.
Yeah. But if you run around, I ran around that, just jumping, running back, jumping forward, running around in circles, just throwing myself at that wall for about 5 or 10 minutes. And then eventually I jumped through it. And I was like, yes, I've discovered something amazing. And it was nothing. But it was a dev room, and it wasn't even a very good one.
I never got it, though. I can't tell you how many times I tried running at that room.
It took me a good 5 minutes.
If I run forward and backward enough and go fast enough, it's going to break enough wall for me to get through. But I could never get through in the way that I did it. As far as other mechanics, there are the elevators, which are kind of interesting in the fact that you can use them to launch yourself sometimes. Mm-hmm. You can use them to go down, use a cube,
block it,
keep making it go lower, lower, lower. There is that one. Did you ever figure out the completely purple one?
Yeah.
So what was the... So there's one where if you get...
It's a really long one, yeah.
If you get way to the bottom, there's a purple field. So much like in Portal, the Emancipation Grills.
Yeah.
It will take away all your cubes, including one you just put there to hold it down. And I was convinced for most of the game that I was going to get a purple gun, and the purple cubes could deal with that.
Yeah, and I was too. I was totally on board with that. I was like, yep, we're definitely getting a purple gun. Because...
Especially, there was that purplish cube that if you look at it, it moves through a shape, and we were sure that we were going to get something if we found enough of those. But apparently there are 13, which I did not find.
No,
I found about 6.
And that's just a sidestep for a second from what we're talking about. Let's get back to that elevator in a second. But one thing that I don't like about this game is that please tell me if I'm doing something right. Like, there's no achievements in this game. Which, again, I'm not an achievement hunter, but I would like to know...
In a puzzle game, sometimes they're a good hint.
Yeah, they are. They're good hints. Like, oh, you did this, or that's all you needed to do for that one. Like, but an Antichamber does not. It just kicks you right in the nuts. It's just like, nah, we're not saying anything. You figure it out, which is great, but it's also really kind of annoying at the same time because those purple ones, even if you found them all, nothing will pop up. You do not get an achievement. You do not get because I went and I watched a YouTube guy find all of them.
I figured you at least got a death room or something.
No, nothing. You just solve them, and then you're like, okay, that's them all done. But you don't know that you've done them all. And in fact, I think even the guy that was doing the YouTube is like, maybe there's more, but I'm screwed if I can find it. I've been through every single inch of this place. But there is that room that says under construction.
Never figured that one out.
I think it's just part of the game because there's a poster next to it saying, nope, some stuff is just like that. You know, it's right. Like, I think it's just there to kind of tease you, but also to make fun of things as well. Like, don't expect any DLC for this game. But yeah, please tell me if I'm doing it right, or give me a hint. Like, yeah, that would be quite annoying to like go through all those cube things and be like, okay, I found 12 of them, or I found 10 of them. Can't find any more, but 10's a good number. I must have got them all. Nah, there's still more. So the elevator, we tried this. I mean, I don't know how long you tried it for, but I tried it for an hour at least.
Nah, I don't think I did as long because when you couldn't get it, I kind of went, well, maybe maybe it's not worth spending that much time. I tried a couple different things to see if it would work, if I could find a way to make it work. But
because my initial plan was get the elevator down. Because so basically you jump, and then as you kind of have this force where you push the elevator down, and then you pop a block in, and then the elevator will stick down there. And you jump again, boom, and then you pop another one, and you remove that top one. Then you just it's like you're creating stairs going down, down, down. And then you get to that field. And then I was like, okay, so now I must be close enough. So now I'll just use momentum. So I'll just jump, throw myself up in there, and then hit the elevator harder, go deeper down, rise up real quickly again, get even more air, then fire down again. And I thought that way I could get to the bottom. But you can't. It's impossible. I was getting so high that I was actually hitting my head on the roof again. And then full force.
You probably could have if he had let the roof be higher, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that was probably done on purpose. But what I found was, and it's so easy, I got to the bottom in less than 20 seconds when I tried it again, is as you jump on it, basically, you jump on it the first time, and then you let it spring you up again, then you get a good thing, and then as you're maybe the physics in this game are really good. You do feel the momentum and stuff, right? So once you feel you're getting about halfway, jump again, and the elevator continues down. So you're creating all this gap now between you. And then you hit it real hard. And then it'll fire you. Then it'll fire you all the way down. And then once you feel that you're getting about halfway, jump up again. And then there's even, the elevator just drops away. And then you fly down.
Oh, okay. I understand. Yeah. Here's the thing. I didn't realize until Endgame that you could actually use the elevators in this way, as far as a launching pad.
Right. Oh, really?
Yeah. I was always just trying to get them to go further down, or just using them to lift me up. So I didn't realize that you could use them as a launching
almost like a
pad.
trampoline. Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't know that until there was something in the end game where you had to do that.
Right.
There was no other choice. And I went, oh, that's interesting. And I went, wait a second. Could I have done this whole time? Because once you go beyond the end door, that's it. You can't go back again. Yeah. I mean, you can when you get to the end of the game. You can go back. But by that point, I wasn't very interested. But I didn't really feel like there was any time in the regular part of the game, in the main part of the game, where it taught me that mechanic.
Right. No, I don't think it does.
Yeah. There are also some stairs that seem to appear and disappear. And there are some tricky times where I can't get these stairs that appear to not appear, and I need to get through there. And there are some tricky ways you could jump to make it work,
right? So
that you could get through, or you'd have to come through on the other side. There are all sorts of things. There are things I feel like I missed out on.
It seems like if you jump on those disappearing things, then they'll vanish completely at some points. I don't know, man. There's some weird rules to what's going on, but yeah. So the elevator thing. What's at the bottom? Nothing. A purple cube. That's it. Okay.
One that you have to move around by looking at it?
Yeah. It's another two. I thought there's a lot of numbers in this game as well. There's even a dev room that's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think up to 5.
That was the first dev room I found.
Okay, so you know what I'm talking about.
These are the giant cubes where when you look at the different sides, it changes the numbers.
Yeah. And I was like, there's got to be a number thing in this game. So I was taking screenshots of everything there's going to be a combination lock or something.
For you, it's the whole game. I don't know how long I stayed in that dev room thinking that there was some sort of math puzzle I was trying to solve.
Right. No.
And that's when I just looked it up because I'm I'm right towards the end of the game. I know I am. I'm kind of done with this.
Yeah.
Tell me what I'm supposed to do.
And the answer was?
And the answer was, as a dev room, you can't solve it. Because there's even this plus symbol and equals on the floor, which I was like, if I could just make the numbers match.
I did think about that. I was like, can you get 1 + 1 = 2 or something like that?
Right, that's what I was trying to do. Yeah, and I couldn't make it work.
No, you can't. You can't. Seriously, the game's just messing with you, man. It was definitely good for that. I like the idea that there was no tutorial, so you were baffled by almost everything, but you were really seriously rewarded for experimentation, and you got to almost decide what the rules were. If I do this, because I was convinced that those, those lattice windows that you were talking about that change the color when you look through them, you see a different room. I was convinced that you had to jump at that for it to work. So on instinct, I jump at all of those ones as soon as I see them. As I'm walking up to them, I take a running leap at them and then splat against it and then fall down. And then I look around and say, oh, okay, I'm in that room now. It's just a habit because in the very beginning, I was convinced that you had to jump at it and it never left my brain.
So if we want to go way back,
yeah,
this is, what was it? The beginning of Mr. Nobody, the pigeon that gets some seed and then will, because it flapped its wings before it got the seed, it's always going to flap its wings hoping to get the seeds.
Right.
Even though that's not important in the movie at all. But yeah, that's basically what we're doing in this. He's created a game to make us guess at what we're doing, and we're going to do. I never did the leaping at it.
Yeah, because I think I did walk up to it and then nothing happened, but I probably didn't like. I think
you have to get right.
I think you got to press your nose to it because you have to let that fill your whole field of vision.
Yeah, you can't see any of the actual Romanian on the sides, or else it won't work. Yeah. Well, here's the thing, though. It did work.
It worked. Yeah.
It does work. But I do want to get back to the emancipation grills because that's another part that, for me, you seem to understand them. It didn't make any sense to me. I thought that there would be, with the colors, I could take yellow cubes through yellow rooms, but then once you level up to the next gun, whatever gun you have, that's the color that you're going to absorb. It's always going to be that.
Exactly.
And so then there was the one where we were there at the same time and chatting to each other and trying to help each other through, where it was like the big blue room with the kind of sea sounds. Oh, right, because it was the giant red door you have to pull and pull and pull and pull and pull to get out. So, and I don't know if I ever got back to you on this, but I said, oh, there's this little hole. It's got to have a purpose. What's the well, the purpose is that's where we were pulling the red from before. Yeah. So I probably spent 5 to 10 minutes trying to figure out what to do with that hole without realizing, oh, we've actually already done that. But, I pulled and pulled it. Yeah. You had some sort of way where you're like, oh, I just pulled it to the green wall and made the wall disappear and then it disappeared. And that did not work for me. So I just had to keep pulling it and making it disappear and pulling it and making it disappear. But then we get to beyond that, is that was, opposite sides of the book or book cover or something.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
And so when you go off to the right, finally, because you'd figured that part out, but they're like, but then we need to figure out how to get to this next thing. And boy, if you take the cubes through, they disappear. So it doesn't make any logical sense to me. And I do have a real problem with this because you could move them through if you built a snake.
Yeah.
And you could sometimes shoot them through.
Yep.
But
sometimes.
But if you carry them through, they're going to disappear.
Yes.
And you can sometimes snake them through, but they will be not slowly, very quickly eaten. So that's when I was creating 5 billion cubes everywhere, and I'm going to get it through no matter what, because there are 2 sections. There is a door where you needed only 2.
Yeah.
But to get 2, I was going to have 1,000 of them to get through, because as it's eaten, again, problem with the looking, because as I'm looking to move it, sometimes it gets stuck on a corner because it's not going where I really want it to. Yeah, because when
you do that dragging tool, it's as the crow flies, so it could go cut right through the half of a room, half of the wall. Sorry, yeah. So those things. There's one that's kind of to me anyway, because we all probably see different shades of whatever. But to me, some of them looked like
it's true because they're different shades of red and pink and purple.
But there was, to me, there was one emancipation grill that was kind of yellowish, and there was one that was a bit rose tinted. Yeah. I found that you could shoot the cubes through the yellow ones, and they would stick to the wall on the other side, or even in that room. But you couldn't shoot it through the purple or pinkish ones. But you could sometimes snake them through that. Sometimes you couldn't. Sometimes they just all got mum, like Pac-Man, just dum, dum, dum.
And it's so... I can't even express the words of how frustrating and scary it is when you see it being eaten away and you can't get the dot on it fast enough and move it fast enough, and you're going to have to start all the way over when you only needed 2 cubes.
Yeah, but that's the other thing as well, is this room is all weird, almost like white noise. There's all pixel bits, and your cursor on your gun is tiny. And so when you're trying to aim it. Because the good thing is, once you middle mouse button on the snake, its time stops. And you can then redirect it. You don't have to do that part in real time, but finding that dot, it's like, imagine trying to find a white dot in some white noise. Like, it's insanely difficult.
That is kind of what it's like.
But I don't know. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
And maybe there is a series of rules that make sense, but I didn't see it. And I wanted to treat them all the same, and it didn't work that way. And there didn't seem to be an area to properly teach me some of these. No.
Because, I don't know. To me, it felt like sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And it'll only work when it needs to work. And when you shouldn't be doing something that you're trying to do, it's not going to allow you. And I'll let it slide for this game because it's Antichamber. But for any other game, I would really hate it. If the Talos Principle did that, I would be all over it and like really stamping my feet really hard. But for this game, it's kind of like, well, it's the upside down. It's the back of the universe. It's everything is. I think in my Steam review, I said up is down, down is strawberry jam, and backwards is yes. That's how the physics of this place work, basically.
I do want to talk about maybe, at least one for me, time where I solved something a ridiculous way and how much I love the fact that I could do that. And there were two, I think, that definitely come to mind. One is the fly ? Section, where I think I showed you the pictures of what I did. Did I not?
No. We have to put them up for this video.
So this is way back when I think we only had the green gun. Mm-hmm. And you told me about the growing cubes, so I knew I could do this.
Okay.
And I could get as many as I needed. So I built a staircase all along the outside.
Oh, my God.
It's a tower if you end up in the lower area where you can look up and you see that's where you need to go. So I could build this staircase all along the outside and get to the top. And then I got there and it was a puzzle I wasn't ready for yet. I think you maybe needed the next gun to pull this off or something.
I think you do. I think that fly room leads to the one. Is there like a weird bouncer that bounces you across to the other side?
Might be. I don't remember now. I just remember being utterly disappointed that I got that far and knowing that all of that work is going to disappear when I go back to the
menu.
Yeah.
Map screen, yeah.
The other time would be, I loved I both love and hate the red gun. Mm-hmm. I love the red gun and the fact that it made things much, much easier. Mm. But I hate the red gun and the fact that it's good for the dev rooms and the super secret stuff. But by the time you get to the red gun, you're just getting to the end of the game. Mm-hmm. That's really all you need it for. And I had to use a walkthrough to do the end part because how long did we run around thinking we needed something else because we couldn't figure out that end door that we knew when really we were just missing the fact that there was a slot that you could at the top. So we went to the end, right? And there were red things in your way and an emancipation grill in your way. And all you had to do was shoot into this area above that and connect it.
I'm lost.
If behind you is the life ticking pendulum.
Oh, right. Sorry, not the exit in the
menu
the
room.
screen.
No. The actual exit.
The actual one that says end that you find really early on.
And the only thing there are some red blocks in your way.
Yeah, but they're covered with glass.
Yeah, and like a purple emancipation grill kind of thing. And there is like a little gap that I didn't see. And you didn't see it because we were both like, I'm going right for the exit. And we were kind of racing for the exit. And I got there and I go, oh, I can't do anything. And about 10 minutes later, you're like, yeah, I can't do anything either. All right, well, we got to go figure out something else. Which, that it's a shame because I think that I would have had a much better feeling if I had reached the end then. But it is kind of disappointing that the gun isn't really necessary in the main part of the game except to exit.
There are some puzzles that need the red gun.
Yes, but not to get to the exit. Those are all extra stuff.
No, that's true.
And that's where I got a bit disappointed. Mm. It's one of those things where you get to the end of the game and you get this superpower, but it's only for the final boss.
Right.
And that's kind of what this felt like to me, is, oh, enjoy this now. Now, I did, because we didn't think we had solved it yet, go through and do a whole bunch of other stuff, created whole ceilings of red tiles and walls of red tiles and crazy shapes just because I could. And the purple area that I think says WTF, I solved that by shooting below any of the emancipation areas and creating this whole kind of floor and wall and pathway so I didn't have to snake my way through.
Yeah.
It was totally ridiculous, but I did love doing that. And there is something to that part of the game.
Yeah, it's very creative. Like what you're saying is you can come up with, because like for that, yeah, I didn't do that. I just shot a line and then jumped down and then elevated up. Like just took the elevator up and then that's it, done, easy. But then for another one, yeah, I had to create a whole floor of stuff to walk across, and there's just so many things. And that red gun, I don't know, there's something oddly satisfying about using that gun and just like, I've got two, because you need 2 cubes. You can't do it with 1, but you can do it with 2. And I don't know how it is. Does it cube them, or does it square the cubes or something like that? It's like you have 2, and then I think you can grow 4. Then you absorb those 4, and you can grow 16. And then you just like multiply, and by the end you're just painting the entire room in red cubes.
I never quite understood. I just do, sometimes I needed more, and so I'd make more, and then suddenly I could do as much as I wanted.
Yeah, but that red gun is just basically God mode, and you're like, yep.
It is pretty much, yeah.
I'm sorted now for cubes, but yeah, you need 2. If you can't do it with just 1.
But here's what I think I've realized about myself. I'm not sure that I like puzzle games in sandbox format. We've done this before. No spoilers here, but The Witness was like this. The Talos Principle wasn't completely like this, but it kind of was, because you would get to an area that would have 10 different puzzles.
Very open, yeah.
And with all of these things where you can run back and forth and you need to learn knowledge to go back to what you did before, this is very much, I think, your thing, where it's so much about exploration and finding more stuff. Whereas I was, towards the end of this game, getting so frustrated with, what have I done before? Even one of the posters said something along the lines of, finding what you need from before can be like a needle in a haystack, or it was that. I know that's not the wording for it.
I know the exact poster you're talking about. It was something. I think it was that.
And I was like, that's not encouraging.
Yeah.
You're saying it's going to be difficult to figure out what I'm missing. Yeah. Thanks, great. But I think that was meant to be for the secret rooms, not aimed for me who couldn't even figure out how to get the proper exit to get to the end game. Right. I am very much objective focused always. Mm-hmm. I want to get to the next objective, and that's what I want. When I have something like this, I say, well, I never know if what I'm coming across, if I can't do it because I'm not being clever, or because I just don't have the right gun, the right tool, the right knowledge yet. And so it adds a lot of extra time and a lot of extra frustration that I don't really need. Mm-hmm. And this one in particular, but I would even say The Witness, where there are a lot of bonus things that aren't really important, but how do you know that they're not important? Even going back to Superland, like there were some things in there where I could have done them, but I didn't know I could do them, because when you have a game where you're giving these tools, or even just building knowledge, a lot of times I think, well, I'm not ready for it yet, when really I am, but how do I know, right? So there are some times where some of these games will say, you are ready for it.
Yeah.
Superland did a good job of that sometimes, where it had the little guy with the mustache saying, you are ready for this, you've got everything you need.
That was very helpful.
And I like that, and I want, honestly, I kind of want more of that. If you're going to have an exploration game, you need to tell me if I have what I need or not. I don't want to spend half of the game time that I am playing wandering around going, what did I miss? I will keep playing them, because puzzle games are, it's not the majority of the market. You get games like Prince of Persia that will have puzzles in them.
Sure.
But it's not the main focus.
It's not a puzzle game. Yeah. But that's why you like Portal, because Portal is like, here's the level,
that's why for me,
you can't go backwards. You can only go forwards.
I think that's why they are always going to be the best ones for me.
Yeah.
Because very few games do that anymore. I think that there were some older ones that would do that because they didn't have the option, or they didn't even know that they could do that kind of thing.
Yes, Cube kind of does that as well, and a couple of games we'll be talking about in the future are very linear in that sense, where it's like you're given everything that you can do to solve them.
I suppose it's possible. It's just, I think I will enjoy these games, but I do think that it's just a personal thing with me that I am always going to feel a sense of frustration when I get to the end, because I will realize how much time I wasted either not doing something that I should have been able to do earlier on, or wasting time on something that isn't important.
Yeah, I think we just play things a bit differently, and that's probably what it is. Like you said, you're more like, okay, this is a puzzle, and I'm here, so I should be able to solve it. And when you can't do it, yeah, that's annoying. I can understand that. Whereas you would spend 30 minutes on that, I would probably spend about 5. And be like, right, I can't do it. Because I'm kind of the person that's either like, I can do this or I can't do it.
I can't believe you say that, because in Talos Principle, you were trying every puzzle to see. Once you realized you could go outside of a puzzle within it.
But yeah, that was different though, wasn't it? Because you could, and with Talos, it borrowed so much from Portal as well, so that you only had, 4 items or something, boxes, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And so you kind of knew, and everything was highlighted like, this goes here. This is a fan slot. Was there box slots in Talos? Yeah. And then there was those jump spots where your feet were, so you know that you could jump onto things. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff. So Talos was very sandboxy, but it was also very portally.
It gave hints as well.
It gave a lot of hints. But whereas The Witness is just like, ta-da, here's a whole world, run around, and like, if you can't solve it, well, that's your fault. And Antichamber is like this to an extent, but you do need those guns. But I think it does a decent job of funneling you away from those like green gun areas. I don't think it actually allows you into those places until you've got the tools to get there. Like, I think it does a fairly good job of like keeping you out of the really hard zones. I don't know how that map is actually sectioned. That would be interesting. So someone's probably sectioned that off into like, this is a yellow area, this is a green area, or red is just everything area, obviously, because you can do anything with that gun. But yeah, so that's like our enjoyment factors kind of went like, ooh, just directly across the map on the graph. That's like an X, because in the beginning I was like, what am I doing here? Like, I don't understand anything. I'm going backwards, and while at the same time it's like, oh, I'm Alice in the rabbit hole. And it was great. And that level with the elevator is actually called the rabbit hole. But as I understood it more, and I was like, no, everything's just like, everything resets and it doesn't matter. And if you screw something up, you just go back to the menu and you can come back and do it again. It's like, okay, now I feel better. I couldn't play it well in the beginning, but once I relaxed, I suppose, and realized that the world wasn't hanging in the balance, then it was easier. But what about the ending though? So you're chasing this smoke monster from Lost.
Right, which we've seen occasionally
a couple of times, yeah.
Yeah, I like the concept of it.
I like the ending a lot, man. The John Wick room.
The one where you have to walk all the way around.
It's just all glass floors. It's like that big fight scene. You know the one I'm talking about. Was it John Wick 2?
3, I think.
Oh, is it? Oh, that one. Yeah.
Maybe. It depends on the scene you're talking about. But there's this great big ball of like red cubes or something, but you can't get to that because you got to go all the way around.
Yeah.
And then you got to come all the way back. And then there's a puzzle that deals with moving your red cubes through to get it down into the slot. And in the end, it's okay.
It is.
But it did feel like the most convoluted way to make that puzzle.
It was pretty... When I saw it, I was like... Oh, I just took a big, deep breath. And again, I kind of like that. Is like, I was daunted by a lot of these puzzles when I first saw them. Like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? But then in the end, you're like, oh, that wasn't so hard.
Yeah, I suppose. Though I did warn you, make some cube farms. Because if you accidentally walk into one of those things you jump through without thinking, you're going to have to go all the way back to get a bunch of cubes. So I was building farms everywhere. Once I got the red gun, it was
just red
every
everywhere.
wall. I'm not going to make mistakes.
I had way more than I needed.
Well, I will make mistakes, but I can recover from them easily because I have so many. Yeah, I do like that, but I do think that this is one of those times where I should have stopped playing and come back.
Right.
But I was convinced that I'm almost there. And really, I was still quite a ways away. These puzzles took me a while. It took me some time to get through. And I should have taken a break before.
Because how many were there? There was I'm just going to keep calling it the John Wick room. That's because as you're chasing the smoke monster, you've got like the weird room with all like the lattice frame, the things that I used to jump into. You got that puzzle to solve.
That, which I don't know how I did it, but I did it.
I think it's just trial and error for that. Just like, oh, that's the same room I was in before. I'll go back, try another one.
Elevator jumping area, which this is where I learned about the elevator jump.
Right.
There's even just through what you refer to as the John Wick area, there are multiple puzzles to get down to the cubes, and then you have to get back, and you can't get back the same way, so you have to do a couple more puzzles to get back. And then the big red one at the bottom with all the emancipation grills, like that's there.
Yeah.
So it's not that many, but because of all the walking around, because of the way you have to do it, and because I was so just ready to be done, and I thought I was close to the end, it was just annoying me more than it should have.
Because you got that pigeon coop puzzle at the end as well, where it's like the invisible stairs.
I looked that one up because I
had to ask you for help on that because you solved that. And I was just like, how the hell do you do this?
I was so close. I think you had exactly the same information I had. It's just a matter of timing.
Yeah.
Because I think we'd both found the secret way to walk off to the side, but then you're slowly walking, and when you get to the end, now there's a wall in your way and you can't get rid of it. You have to move fast enough so that they break it up, and you just have to, at least the way I did it was towards the end, run and jump through before the wall reforms.
Yeah, that's what I did. But I fell down so many times in that room to the bottom. That was really annoying. But then I think that's the last part, isn't it? And then
I think there's some other minor stuff, but
basically you get out into the open world, which looks a bit like, to me, when I stepped outside, I was like, oh, I'm on the Obra Dinn again. It was very like basic.
But it was...
I solved this part really quickly.
See, you didn't. It was a nightmare for me. First off, it takes you forever. It's such a long way to get there. And I could see that there are these black spheres, these UFO type things, and I know that I need to get to them, but I couldn't figure out how. I found the hole to jump into, and I did, and I saw the little platform, and I just couldn't get to it. Over and over and over and over. And you can only do it so many times before you think that you're doing it wrong. And so then I thought, well, this game is all sorts of walk backwards and something will change. Or keep walking. There was the spiral room where if you just persist and you go all the way through, you get to the end and you get a new poster. So maybe I just need to keep walking and walking and walking until I find something different. And that's really, no, you have to get to the platform.
Right.
That's where you need to go. There's another level there. And I think it's one of those times where just because now I knew that's what I needed, somehow now I could do it. It still took me a few tries, but a few tries versus half an hour of falling and not being able to do it and going, what am I doing wrong? So, yeah, I did that. You get to the sphere, you get inside, and what do? Do you unleash the smoke monster? Is that how it starts building everything? Yeah,
you just basically, there's like an empty cube, and you've got one cube in your gun, one black cube, because you absorbed the smoke monster at the end of the John Wick room, I guess. Yeah, and you can shoot it anywhere, and it'll start whispering stuff, and you just take it back again. But then you pop the one cube in, and then it creates the Antichamber logo, and that's the end of the game. Weird.
Yeah. There you go. You loved it, though.
I loved it. Yeah, I loved it. I did. I really enjoyed it.
I was kind of surprised, because we had zero story until now. And all of a sudden, hey, there's a story here.
Yeah.
No, for me, Antichamber, you're a little too late to
Yeah.
give me a story, but
No.
okay, fine.
Yeah, even for me, it's like, that's not a gap I want to fill. Like, nah, you gave me nothing, and then you put all this weird stuff in. And the thing is, I think if you're going to take anything away from it, it's a game about it being a game. You know, because it's like ending with the logo is like too meta almost, you know?
But I think some of the posters would lead to that as well.
And I think the posters are probably about his experience because, and this is what I was kind of talking about in the beginning. Alexander Bruce, this guy that made this game, it took him 6 years, well, depending on which version you look at, but it could be 6 or even longer years. And he had a really hard time, man. He was on his own for most of it doing it. And he got so burnt out. Like when we watched the indie game, the movie, the Fez guy, you know, same kind of thing, you know, it must be really stressful, especially when everything's on you, you know, and you've plowed in so much of your time to do this. And and people are talking to him like, so when's your next game coming out? And he's like, and his quote was, "What? Why would I ever want to do this again?" That was what he told the reporter. He's like, "I'm never doing this again." Rumor has it he's a software engineer in China right now, and he's just, you know, he's done with it, and he wants a normal life. And I can't blame him because, for one, it would be tremendous pressure if you're that kind of person to be like, "Oh God, I've got to make something that's better than this." Otherwise, because people are, you know, rude and horrible. Mean people. And yeah, he's just like, nah, that took 6 years of my life away. That'll never get back. Yeah, done. But what was the point of saying that? Oh yeah, so my point of saying that was, it's a game about making games, and all those motivational posters and all those things is probably how he felt about his own life. And then we're playing through his development hell, I think. And at the end of the game, you pop the thing, you solve it, the Antichamber, you create the game basically. And then that's it. Then you're free to go back and toy around with it and tinker with it and bug fix and find all the little things and the little purple cubes. I think it's a metaphor for making games. And I think that's about the only story that you can get out of it.
That's fine. I didn't need one. I really don't always need a story. With Portal, it helps it so much. It adds so much to it. But so many of the others that we've played, a bad story can really detract from it.
Yeah.
This no story, it worked for me. It was very weird at the end, but I was okay with it because that part didn't overstay its welcome.
Yeah. But I mean, even when I'm saying story, I'm not saying story. I'm saying I would probably look at Antichamber as art. And I think that that's the message behind this piece of art. That sounds super pretentious, but that's what I'm saying. It's not a story. It's just, it is what it is. And yeah, I think the if you're going to say who's the character, it's probably Alexander Bruce.
Fair enough.
And that's it. Gaps filled or more gaps created.